Hi, welcome back to Missouri's Cricket Barn Homestead. This is Debbie. We are out here in the garden this morning. We're actually going to go everywhere because we have not had a video in a while, and I realize that. I do apologize very, very much so for not having a video out a little bit sooner, but we've had so much craziness going on here right now. My older daughter is in the hospital, the one that lives with us right now. She had an infection pop up and we're not really sure what it was. So she's been in the hospital for a couple of days. She's being released today, which is good. So hopefully she's on the mend. She's on antibiotics and all of that. So hopefully we can get that nipped in the bud. We're still not even sure where it popped up from. They think that it could have been just, they thought it was appendicitis for a little bit, but it turned out her appendix was okay. And we're not really sure what happened, but she got an infection and it's now getting taken care of. And she's getting released today, so that's good. We've been out in the garden every single morning, even though she's been in the hospital. I just basically take care of all the things and then run straight to the hospital. And I'm there most of the day and then come back and take care of all the things. So we managed to stay on top of the garden, even though the garden looks terrible right now because we're at the end of the season. And we actually got some rain after about a month and a half of no rain. So we finally got some rain and we had to watch the tomatoes and things to make sure there was no cracking. We had a couple of tomatoes that we lost due to cracking from water because we have tried not to water the garden so that way it can maintain through a drought type of situation. So that has all done really good because we still had everything still producing like crazy. In fact, let's go ahead and get in the garden. I'll show you a few things. Even though it's dying back heavily because of it being at the end of the season, we're still getting some watermelons. You can see a watermelon over there on the ground, and there's one up on the fence. And we're still getting some spaghetti squash and pumpkins and things like that. So we still got those kind of everywhere, even though the vines look terrible. They're basically just finishing out now. So we still got about 5 or 6 spaghetti squash. We still got a couple of watermelons here and there. We're still getting cucumbers here and there. And we're still getting peppers and we're still getting tomatoes. You can see we have new growth on the tomatoes since the rain happened. So we've had new tomatoes pop up. They're still blooming. They're still producing. We've got acorn squash that was fall squash that is producing right now. So we've still got a lot of tomatoes and things like that in here. There's a few in here more than likely I'm going to have to go ahead and harvest. We've been harvesting like crazy. In fact, our peppers have been bouncing back from just looking terrible. You can see they've got a lot of new growth on them, a lot of new peppers on them, and looking pretty good. And even my Pequin chilies are now getting ready. So you can see some new tomatoes there. A lot of new growth. They're bending over from the weight of all the tomatoes that they've had on them. They look kind of terrible, but they're still producing. You can still see some blooms here and there. And new tomatoes and even tomatoes that are getting ready right now. But we have these little Pequin chilies. These things have been so interesting. They're little tiny chili peppers, but they are so, so spicy. And I have a recipe for some salsa that I'm making with those. And you can see our cucumbers look terrible. The vines look absolutely terrible, but they are still producing. So we've got some new cucumbers, new growth on them there. Most of the cucumbers have almost completely died back, but we have one vine that is just a couple of vines that are holding on. And you see lots and lots of new cucumbers on them everywhere. So we've still had a supply of cucumbers like crazy. I've had folks buying cucumbers and tomatoes and all kinds of things from me, which is great. And you can see a cucumber almost ready right there. And we still have like Moon and Star watermelons that are getting ready. We still have okra like crazy. Okra is still blooming. We're still in temperatures of 70s and 80s here. So everything is still like an late spring, early summer here. And still producing like crazy. So lots of still really nice big tomatoes. Now we are having some issues with hornworms at this point because we've again are just at the end of the season. There's a lot of tomatoes that have produced and produced and produced, and they're just kind of getting worn out at this point. But now they have new growth that is happening on them, like these Romas right here, which are more of a determinate tomato and don't really have a lot of that, but we're getting a lot of new growth on these guys and producing more tomatoes. So we will have a whole new flush of tomatoes hopefully before it starts getting cold here. So you can see our cherry tomatoes are blooming and producing right now. Renewed vigor. And our Missouri loves are basically growing back out again. Our squash that had almost completely died back, it has started growing back out again and producing some squash. We've got a few more butternut squash back there. We're having issues with chickens getting in the garden now. You can see that there. They have figured out that there are good things to eat in here, and unfortunately they keep pecking my tomatoes. So we'll have to run those out of here in a moment. And we just have lots and lots still going on here in the garden. You can see it is just kind of all kinds of craziness. And right here is where tomatoes get picked off by chickens. So sometimes we lose a few, but they mostly don't see most of them because there's just so many vines in here. And then I just toss them to the chickens anyway. So we are going to be updating the fencing situation to keep chickens out a lot better. We had to just basically throw this fence up as fast as we could. So we need some more posts, as you can see, in between those sections and just shore it up a little bit. We're going to actually extend it on out some more, get some more space in here. We got a couple of more okras here between the corn that are producing, and we still have zucchini and straight neck squash that's still producing. And again, more vigor on the squash. These are the Boston marrow pumpkins. They'll probably produce some more. And we have acorn squash that are almost ready to harvest in here from the fall planting. We got several of those on the vines. We're still getting cauliflower heads. We're still getting all kinds of things here in the garden. Some beautiful cilantro here. Still getting green beans. And still getting eggplants. In fact, I think these eggplants will probably start blooming again here most likely. And you can see that we do have some more butternut squash in there. Kind of just everywhere. I think we've got several at this point. And more blooming and things on these tomato plants out here. Our celery has perked up since we had that rain quite a bit. We've got some outer dead leaves, crispiness on this celery, but overall the celery stalks, as you can see, are beautiful. And just a lot of renewed vigor in the garden. We've pulled some carrots recently from some of our fall planting that have been nice and big, and then we have more carrots still coming on. Our cabbages are pretty much getting annihilated at this point by the cabbage moths, cabbage butterflies. So it's been a battle with those. Just this one row this season. As you can see, we've got some more cabbages back here behind these tomatoes that are not experiencing that. They're still doing great. So we've got one here and we've got one here, and they're not being hit by that. So I don't know, just crazy amount of pests in weird places, but not in others. And we don't use any pesticides here. We try to negate them as much as we can with natural methods, or just take off the outer leaves, and if you spray them with water, that kind of keeps them abated for a while. But lots of new growth on our carrots. We need to get in here and do some weeding. Got a bunch of weeds in here. And we have more squash producing, summer squash, in our fall garden planting. Here we have zucchini and yellow straight neck squash here. These are newer plants. Got a little downy mildew on them, but not bad. And they are producing. You can see some squash in there, looking nice and healthy. In fact, most of them got some there. So we'll get some more there, and then we've got some lettuce leaf basil along through here, doing really well, and then some more cilantro that we have quite a bit of. And looks like we have some purslane here, purslane. And we have leeks planted through here, which of course you won't see a whole lot of difference on leeks for quite a while. It takes a long time for those to come to fruition. So we probably won't see those until spring as far as being able to harvest. Then we got some red curry squash out here. They are trying to produce, so we'll see if they get anything out before the end of the season or if frost happens. And then we have some beans here that are actually producing. These were a fall planting, and you can see nice beans here that will have a fresh flush of beans. And you can hear the guineas every time we turn the camera on. So one of our more recent things that have happened is that we had hay cut, and I'm going to show you what the hay looks like. And just to give you a quick little look at one of our hen houses out here, we've got some new babies out into our little coop here, which is actually not a little coop. This is a pretty good sized coop. And we have some little babies that we just hatched a couple of weeks ago, some of them a week ago, that are here in the little coop. And we've got this all changed out with fresh hay. We've kind of scattered around. Got this all cleaned up. Here's one of our geese. And another of our geese and some of our guineas. So we've got quite a few animals out here. Chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese, guineas that are out here. So anyway, we're out in the hayfield now. Again, we have a little over 7 acres. And we had hay cut in the last couple of days. They raked it, and they've still got a little bit more to get, I think. But they ended up with quite a few rolls on the property. They said it was really nice, thick hay. We just went ahead and gave it to them because we didn't have the equipment quite yet to do hay, and we already have hay for the winter. So anyway, they said it looked like a really nice quality hay to them. And you can see the rolls here. And he basically said that he ended up with about 250 bales if he had done square bales, but he ended up with only like 12 rolls. But he said it was about 250 bales, which we prefer the square bales anyway. For us, they're a little bit easier to handle with our hayloft and things. So he said that was quite a good amount of hay for a little over 7 acres. He said it was quite thick, and he was really, really happy with the hay, and we just gave it to him. So it is beautiful, beautiful hay that we have here, and just love it. Just love it. Love the view. Look at this view. And let everybody listen for just a minute. All you hear is birds, chickens in the background. Crickets. And there is the front side of our barn. So anyway, we're doing well here in Missouri. This is in North Missouri. So we're zone 6A, 6B up here. I think it's heading more towards 6B, to be honest. We have walnuts that we have been harvesting right now. We have apples that we've put away. We've put away all kinds of food. Our pantry right now is completely full. Our freezers are full. We have hogs that we're getting ready to process, and we've been doing some selling of animals back and forth and things like that trading out, and we're just about ready to start breeding our goats, and a grandson running through a field. Just doing some running and having some fun. Anyway, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for notices on new videos as they come out. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one with a daughter who is back to normal. See you next time.